200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then, climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis' haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Patrick Lilia. Tonight, clear with a low of 63, then Thursday, sunshine with a high of 82. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has the best roast beef sandwiches in the Twin Cities, but don't miss out on the chicken, fish, brisket, Philly steak, and more. Maverick's is located in Roseville on Lexington Avenue, 1 mile south of Highway 36. Visit mavericksbeef.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host, guest, random reptoid, or chupacabra may not necessarily reflect those of AM 950 Radio, its affiliates, or its sponsors. Now, it's time to step into the unknown. There are things people experience but never talk about. A shadow moving in the corner, flickering of the lights, a disembodied voice. We invite you to talk with us, share your story, share your experience, because this isn't just your story, this is our story. This is GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun.
And this is GhostBox Radio and AM 950, where every night we talk about the paranormal, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. A whole lot of stuff. I couldn't even remember it all, I guess. Welcome. My name is Greg Bakun, and we are going to have a fantastic show tonight, and I'm really excited about it. And before we get to it, though, I'd like to welcome back in Eden Prairie. Adam, how are you doing?
Well rested after my vacation, and pretty sure we have a bat flying around the radio station.
Have you actually seen this mythical bat now?
I've heard it again tonight, and I'm going to name it Nos, as for Nosferatu.
All right.
So Nos is flying around here somewhere. I've heard him a couple of times. Have not gotten a visual on him yet, but you can definitely hear the wings.
Well, it makes a change from the snakes and the mice that are running through the place. So
we're starting our own farm. Come on.
We sure are. Now, I'm going to say you missed a really good Casual Friday.
Because I wasn't there, so it was good?
No. That's not how I operate. I mean, there might be some truth to it, but no. What it is that the question of the week actually got people to respond, which is always a plus. But then we were able to find a lot of stories because it was all about if loved ones come to you before they die as spirit to let you and warn you know that they're going to die. And then you find out like a day or so later that it actually happened. And
oh, that's neat.
It was a real good, very powerful episode, very good stuff. And it's well worth a listen to. And you can always go to Spotify, am950radio.com, GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun on Facebook and YouTube to check it all out. And so, Adam, I left a little bit later than normal tonight from the station, and I stopped, and I was really hungry. So I stopped to get a pop over at the old Holiday right up the road next to El Burrito. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I could do with a little snack, right? I could do with just a little bit of a snack on the drive home so I can have a little something and then go home and have dinner. And that's all, just a little snack. And so I look around and I see a Crunch bar. I'm like, ooh, I like Crunch bars. But this one is, of course, like, family size. These things are never small. And so I'm like, oh, well, that's okay. I will find the one that is just like single human size.
Mhm.
And I couldn't find it. So I'm like, but that's okay again, because I just roll with the punches, and I'm going to actually get this, and I will be able to enjoy it over the next couple of days. And so I get in the car and I'm driving, and I open it up. Well, I open it up before I drive, before anyone gets all weird on me about that. And I go and I take a bit off, and I'm just like, okay, I'll just have a little bit, and we'll just drive home. Now, remember, I live in St. Michael. This is Eden Prairie, and I'm driving and I'm eating this. The candy bar is finished before I hit 394. Let's just put it that way.
Well, it all goes back to, kind of a rule that I live by myself. It's kind of like if you buy the cake but don't cut it up and just eat it, that's one piece of cake. So you have
Right.
one chocolate bar. You don't have, you don't have to be completely honest with yourself.
I took the first square of it, and I'm like, this thing doesn't stand a chance. And so yeah, I was I was like, gosh dang it. And of course, it's a night that we have our guest, quantum healer Matt Schmidt, on. And why I say it that way is because a while back I'd reached out to Matt, and I'm like, would you be able to help me lose weight? Because and I'm not in a good place with my weight. I'm very subconscious about it. I'm just really, really don't like it. And Matt was kind enough to give me materials and resources to, like, such as his videos, that if you haven't done so, you need to go over YouTube to Matt Schmidt, QH. There's a number of videos over there. There's currently 254. And go ahead and watch this, get started, start to see what's out there. And I say this all the time to people, and I did not follow my own rules here. You got to do the work. You always got to do the work. You cannot, it's just like, it's great to have the resources. It's great that someone took the time and sent it my way, but I need to do the work to be able to make the change. And that's something that I need to do. And I'm really hoping that I can find the motivation to do so. Maybe I need to find somebody who will go ahead and take the journey with me, and we could be accountable to each other or whatever else. But we got to do that. And that's why I'm really excited, because we hadn't had Matt on in July. It's just a scheduling thing. But I'm super excited, and I'm super excited about our topic tonight. Matt Schmidt, welcome to GhostBox Radio.
Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here. This is like right up my alley. So
it really is. Now, what amongst the things we're going to talk about tonight is, do our beliefs prohibit us or stop us from healing? And I wanted to say real fast, Matt, that just by coincidence, there's been a theme all this week with the programs that we've been running, the topics. Monday, I was going to have Richard Estep on and talking about being a paramedic, and that show just didn't happen. So I came up with this topic for Monday night called "Why Do We Believe?" Why do we believe in ghosts? Why do we believe in aliens and all that? What is it that gets us there? And then last night, which is a bit of a controversial episode, as I've seen in comments about some of the stuff I posted, some of the socials I posted, we had Dr. Bill Brendel on, talking about basically a book that he wrote that's called I Was Not Satan, and it's a book about Lucifer. And in it, he's talking about stuff that basically the architecture of the man-made belief system is taking things that we have, it's creating things that we have always thought is the truth, but is there more to it that we don't know about? And that's the belief system there. Mm-hmm. Now, tonight, we're going to be talking about, do our beliefs prohibit or stop us from our own healing? And I think that's really interesting, Matt, because I think these do kind of all play in together with each other.
I think you're spot on. I had no idea how powerful our beliefs were in all of this until I really took a dive into this work. But
And so, what do you mean by that?
I think, as a scientist, with my background, having a scientific background, I was always aware of the placebo effect, and like that's not a small amount. I was trying to find the study before we hopped on here, but don't have the exact numbers. But I remember a study that was done. It was around the time I was in school, around 2006, and looking at this article, they had all these different like health conditions, and people were given either a drug to treat it, or they were given a placebo, which is basically a sugar pill. So it's
Yep.
like sucrose, and it should have no medical effect. But what they saw across the board was like how impactful it was that people believed a guy in a white coat was giving them a pill for their problem. And with like headaches, it was like I think 65 or 67% of the people that got a sugar pill, their headache went away. Okay, so not a small amount by any means. And then like the lowest one of any category was like a type of cancer, and still like 8% of the people started healing from sugar pill. So you can't ignore it. There's something going on here that you'd be a fool to ignore this. So it's not just small amount. And I think the average is probably most of them are in the 30 to 50% range, but that's a big chunk.
It really is. And you bring up something, because my mind had been with beliefs of even like the way that like our religion or our parents or whatever, what they believe stops us from getting the help that we need. But where you're taking it to, which it makes a ton of sense, that it just didn't click with me, is that and it kind of goes back to like the episode yesterday with Dr. Bill, is like, we're taking just everybody who is like telling the story of whatever the story is, and we're taking it firsthand. But we're not doing the backup to see what actually the story was. If those are facts are true, we take it at face value. Like you said, a guy showing up in a white lab coat and giving you something that's shaped as a pill. I'm going to help you with this. It doesn't matter what it is. We already made the decision in our mind that it's going to help us.
Yeah, pretty much. So
crazy.
these people don't know they're doing it either. Can you imagine if you were aware of that and could like really harness this? So, I mean, that was always noodling around the back of my mind. I'm like, why aren't people talking about this? Because there's obviously something going on here. You don't have to take anything. You don't have to do anything, and you're getting more of a benefit without side effects. So.
Well, and it does make you wonder how much of that. And I'm not trying to say anything to make it sound like that the medical society here is trying to pull one over on us. I don't mean that at all. But I mean, there are documented cases, aren't there, where you get a hypochondriac or something, and they keep coming to a doctor, and the doctor is giving them something that is just like it's scratching the itch, but it actually isn't actually doing anything. It's because they know it's all in their mind.
Yeah, pretty much. And a lot of things are. So another one that really so these are all back when I was like very analytical. I didn't know any of this world, but so these are like scientific journals. The one that there was another like couple cases that fascinated me too, and they were with people with dissociative identity disorder. And they would, at least how I understood it at the time, was their belief was so strong they'd actually change these physical characteristics. So I remember one person was like allergic to orange juice, and then like he'd switch out and he'd switch to another personality, and the allergy would go away. Like mid drink, he would like switch back and forth, and like also he'd just break out an allergic reaction just going into this other personality. One guy would even switch eye color as he drop into like these other sub personalities. And I have some different thoughts on that now. If I didn't know if it was just complete belief, but it was like something else is going on. That's
Well, doesn't that, I mean, in a sense, how do we compare that to quantum healing itself? Because one of the things that you have talked about too is like, the quantum healing is that you're creating the environment for yourself to make change. They're doing that, but it's not the change that you would be wanting. It's not the outcome that you would want with the quantum healing. But are these in similar categories?
Kind of, because it really opens the door to possibilities. That's the
Yeah.
way I see it. Otherwise, like, the beliefs really keep us restricted. If you're like, oh no, that can't happen. Well, guess what? You're right. It's not going to happen if you're like, because your belief can override that. So,
And you can also, I suppose, say too at the same time, if you are somebody who is just like, even with the most powerful like way of being healed, whether it's if you have like whatever it is, if it's cancer, whatever else, or maybe something not quite as strong, if you have a disposition of always kind of being down on yourself, that's going to prohibit you as well from getting healed, I would suspect, right? If you're like,
oh,
it's not going to help me, none of this stuff's going to help me, I'm a goner, of that sort of thing.
I joke with people. I'm like, well, not with that attitude, and it like shakes them out of that because they're not even aware that they're doing it most of the time.
Yeah.
These are just stories they've been repeating and have been handed down, or just kind of recycled stuff that your mind's playing out.
As a tangent, one of my things that drive me crazy, and we are all in this field of energy healers, people who want to be able to tell you that they believe in the power of that we're all energy, and that what we, light affects light, all that stuff. And there are people that I know, one in particular, and she is all about, she's doing, she wants to do the shadow work, she wants to do the being able to be a healer and all this stuff, but she has the worst feelings about herself. She's a downer, and like an Eeyore, if you will, where it's like it's like something bad happens and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Well, that's because this is me and this is my life and this is how it always goes. And there's a point at first where it's like, okay, you're having a bad day, I totally get it. My instinct and your instinct and Adam's instinct would be, let's try to get you out of this and kind of get a little bit more of a positive view. And I've known this person for years now, and this is the way that they react to everything. And it really makes me sad because, it's a beautiful person on the inside, and that power of positivity is such a big, important piece to having a just a nice life. And they don't get that.
Yeah. And you're basically reinforcing that. So what does the universe do? It's like, hey, is that what you want? Sure, we'll give you more of it. It doesn't know good or bad. You're like, oh, this is my life. Okay, sure it is. Like, here you go.
Here you go.
And you'll be presented with more opportunities to reinforce that. Well, that just gets baked in. Well, then then essentially that becomes your experience in this life.
And I've had to kind of back away a little bit, sadly, very sadly, actually. But it's like, you're bumming me out. I mean, it's like, I don't want your bad energy to start creeping into my world. And I think that that's not impossible because you're around it all the time. It's like, you have to have a barrier as well as a positive attitude, because this person, unbeknownst to themselves, they're shooting negative darts at you because that's how they're portraying themselves.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've gotten better, at just separating, like, oh, sorry you feel that way, but it's like, you just, at a point, it's just, you can't really hang out in that. And then who wants to be in that too? Because that's impacting, like, you start hearing that, well, then you're like, well, maybe that's what's going on with me. Subconsciously, even if you're not thinking about it, those things can, bleed through.
Yeah, I just don't and I don't understand. I get, I get everyone's different. Everyone's lives is different. I don't mean to project how I think everyone should be, but it is like, you got to think after a while. It's just like, especially if you're involved in this culture that you, myself, and most of the people listening tonight are, that you're going to try to just it's just so much. Well, I was going to say it's so much easier to be positive, but it isn't, is it, Matt? It's actually easier to be negative if you're in that groove.
Sure. And it's like, if that's what people get comfortable, even if it sucks, they get comfortable in that. And I mean, I've been there myself, and it takes a bit to pull you out of it, but and I think that's the difference between like helping a person too. Like, okay, maybe you and Adam offered to help, but like at a certain point, what are you doing to help yourself? I can't do it for you, you know,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to do it for you. So
No, not at all. Going back to talking about just like the belief system, what you can do and what you can't do. Angela says in the comments, reminds me of hearing about how once one person ran the mile in under a certain time and a lot more followed. She then says it's what we believe is possible. Absolutely, Angela. That's so true. Joanne says instead of saying, "Oh hell, it's raining again," turn that around and say the farmers are getting water for their crops. Let's not get silly now, but that's that. No, that sounds good. It's a good idea, and that's just it too. Because it actually, Joanne brings up a really good point. Is that it's not always about us, is it?
no,
It's not about our inconvenience for 5-10 minutes, whatever it is. And it is like, my gosh, yeah, it's like, yeah, okay, somebody is going to benefit from this. It's okay. It's not going my way for once. And I think that's a really good point.
yeah.
Have you read breaking news from Paula here? Matt, have you read The Biology of Belief?
Yeah, Bruce Lipton, good book. Kind of break some of these things down, but yeah,
It's well, and you notice she didn't ask if I read it because she probably knew that I'm not. That's not my. I'm not on that level of intelligence to understand.
no, it was a good bridge from that world into this, because it's like they're finding the same stuff in, you know, the scientific community and scientific world. So
about the stuff like the placebo pills and stuff like that, and like what it's I think it must be a really good read, actually, because it's a great way to kind of see, like, I suppose, like how far people's belief goes versus the type of you know, the effect it has on their health, I guess I was going to say.
yeah, it's a good segue and kind of bridges that gap for people into some of this weirder stuff, but it's really not that much of a stretch when you think about it, when it's laid out like that. So
that's really, I want to talk more about that. And actually, why don't we go ahead and do this? Let's go ahead, take our break. When we come back, let's continue this conversation. Folks, if you have any questions about this, please go ahead and put it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say, or what you think, or if you've experienced something like this as well. Would love to hear that too. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakun here. Like you, I love good, fresh, delicious food. So I want to tell you about this treasure in Roseville called Maverick's Real Roast Beef. Maverick's has the best roast beef sandwiches I've ever had. Made fresh every order. Add fries or onion rings dropped in the fryer when ordered, and you have a winning combination. Maverick's Real Roast Beef has a lot more than roast beef, so check out their website, mavericksbeef.com, or check out their restaurant on Lexington in Roseville. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Candlelight Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. Looking for something different for family fun, a night out with friends, or your next team-building event? Try the escape rooms at Lilliput. Step into the haunted mansion, race to find a cure in the bunker, or survive Night of the Wolf, all with just 60 minutes to escape. It's private, immersive, and perfect for groups of all kinds. Book your adventure now, spots fill fast. Visit lilliput.net and see if your team has what it takes to escape. Now, once again, I want to remind everybody that if you have nothing going on this weekend, there's a lot of great opportunities here in the Twin Cities that can scratch that paranormal itch for you. One of them is, of course, this Friday at the Pillsbury Club. Char Savoy and I will be doing a paranormal investigation. We've been doing these since the beginning of May. They are really cool. They are very active, and even so, I mean, you could play the part of Scooby-Doo and investigate a haunted mansion. I mean, we don't unmask anyone at the end of it. Well, maybe we should add that. But it's a lot of fun. And the next tour, like I said, or the next investigation is this Friday, 9 to 11 p.m. Go to MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com to get your tickets. And you know what? While you're there, why don't you just take a trolley tour, a candlelight ghost trolley tour by the Minneapolis Trolley Tour? The Pillsbury Club is where it all comes out of. And I'll tell you, one of the things that they've been really kind of killing it with lately is that it just opened up a restaurant. And the food is really good. I had their smash burger there the other night. Really good, very delicious. And they are serving booze, which, you know, you got my attention. And it's a fun atmosphere. It's good people. John and Norman have put together quite this wonderful experience for everybody, and really would like to get as many people out there as possible. Once again, get more information of not only the Candlelight Ghost Tours, not only the Pillsbury Club Ghost Hunt, but all the other things that they have going on. There is something for everyone. MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com. And with our special guest tonight, Matt Schmidt. Matt, if you don't mind me saying so, I think the people need to come over to your website, MattSchmidtQH.com, and just kind of see what's going on, if you ask me.
Thank you. Yeah,
you're just like, I don't know what to say about that.
No, there's a lot of good stuff, and like there's links to some of the stuff that we've been talking about, but a lot of the like helpful information has been put onto YouTube, and I think that's the best place for people to find me. But all those links are there. In addition to what I offer privately, you know, I've had people be able to change these, because you can know this stuff intellectually, but like, how do you just change some of these beliefs that are, you know, pounded in over years? You know, if it was that simple, everyone would just think different, you know. But sometimes it's not that easy.
Absolutely. And I do want to you bring up a good point. You need to go over to YouTube, Matt Schmidt QH, and that's Schmidt SCHMIDT QH. I will have that in the post show social medias that I'll put out. It's going to be great. Before we move on, Matt, I do want to quickly just go back to a comment that was made prior to the break by Danielle, which I think is a very important one, because we were talking about kind of the Eeyore syndrome a little bit. But what she brings up here, and I think gratitude is such a strong part of our existence here, is, as she says, and when you have a good day, enjoy it. And if I would like to add, and I think this is what she also meant, if you don't mind me saying so, Danielle, just thank the air, just to say thank you. Just, I mean, it and mean it, because like last week, I had a really good week, just a really good week. And a number of times throughout the weekend, I just kind of stopped and I'm like, thank you for this week. It really meant a lot. I needed this. I thank you so much. And it's just putting it on the universe that I am grateful for what you want to give to me, you know?
I feel that strongly. I mean, it puts you in that vibration of that, but then you're going to get more of that. You're going to get more things that you're thankful for, and you almost become magnetic for those things. So
You do. Are you proud of me that this stuff is sticking?
I know. I was like, oh my gosh, who's this guy?
Yeah,
Way to
come
go.
on. I've always been there.
Rubbing off on you. I know.
Oh. Now tonight, we are, amongst other things, we are talking about do our beliefs prohibit stop us from healing? One of the things that I brought up at the beginning of the program was the weight loss and doing the work, and that I hadn't done. And there's I think me bringing it up kind of piqued your interest a little bit about more to say about that, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so it's how beliefs can actually create these issues. So not consciously, of course, but on an unconscious level, we're kind of creating these. So what I find with weight, a lot of times it acts as protection. So in your mind, it's like, hey, if I put on this weight, I won't get hurt because I'll have this like buffer. So energetically, that's what's happening behind the scenes. Obviously, you're not thinking, oh yeah, if I do this, this will happen. But on an unconscious level, that's what's playing out. Sometimes it is, I've had people where they go back to one of the beliefs they created where if I put on enough weight, people will find me unattractive and I won't get hurt in a relationship again. And I'm like, or hurt by men again. And it's like that belief ends up creating that. And I've had people lose up to 150 pounds just doing this type of work. Like, it's not like, we're not even talking like small potatoes here. Like, it's a huge shift when they shift on the inside because, when we make that change on the inside, it gets reflected on the outside.
Are you saying that if you can identify maybe why someone may be putting on weight or just kind of, and that's kind of the shadow work for that a little bit, right? If you can identify that, that will help you at least maybe even start you on the path to reversing that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And these are just some of the possibilities. I do want to share one example that kind of like blew my mind. There was a person, they couldn't gain or lose weight. They were like 200 pounds running marathons. I'm like, not losing a pound. What the heck is going on here? For 20 years, it stayed like that. Didn't matter if they ate junk food for breakfast and like they stayed at the same weight forever. And working together, we went back and followed that belief to where it came in or what was keeping things stuck. And one time mom said, gosh, I hope you never get fatter than that. And her brain locked in that belief so strongly that she couldn't change from that weight. She could change about 5 pounds in either direction. That was it. And she stayed there until we addressed that. And then it was like, delete. And now she can fluctuate at will.
That, I mean, right there is such an important piece to all of this is what other people say to you that can really make your own growth in a lot of ways difficult because isn't it like you're kind of they're projecting upon you their beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
As having weight fluctuation for much of my life, I remember when I was heavy, because I was heavy, lost a ton of weight, now heavy again. But that first heavy I brought up was around 2018 going to early 2019. And my mom made she thought funny comment about my weight. And the thing that I learned at that moment, which I never really thought about before, is I don't like it when people make comments about my weight, especially when I'm in a place where I am just unhappy with how I feel and look.
Yeah. And to kind of put you back in the driver's seat, you have the power to accept or reject these as your own beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily another person's impression of you or perception of you really has nothing to do with you. But like what people unconsciously do is they take it on, especially if they hear it time and time again. or the people around them. Maybe all your family is that way. Okay, well then you start thinking, well, there must be something wrong with me. Maybe they're right. So then you like unconsciously accept that, even though they may be totally wrong.
Well, and my mom, just a truly wonderful woman, but as all humans, we're all flawed in our own ways, and she would have a kind of a sarcastic bend to her, just as I've picked that up from her as well. And I remember my ex-wife Jolene, who was skinny as a rail, just absolutely skinny, and when because my mom was, if lack of a better term, like jealous of that skinniness, she sarcastically, and when some people call someone, if they're one shape, they'll call them a different shape as sarcastic, like she's super skinny, but mom called her, I don't think she used the word fat, but something like that, it just, as she thinks it's a joke. But the thing is afterwards, Jolene was just like, and I think rightly so, like mortified, and like, so she thinks she thinks I'm this, she thinks I'm that, and I'm just like, no, that's how she talks, and you can't talk your way out of that, because not everyone understands that, and it's really not a smart way to do anything. And I learned a lot, and I also learned, I'm looking at like how I feel about my weight from a being a heavier perspective, but it does go the other way as well. People who don't have a lot of weight on them, they're self-conscious about that. They, like in your friend who maybe wanted to gain more weight or lose weight or whatever else, that this is something that we always think, well, if you're skinnier, you're so much happier, you're so much luckier, good for you. They don't feel that, not everyone feels the same way that you think they
Yeah.
do, and that's something that my mom needed to learn.
Yeah, there's a lot wrapped into that one.
Isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
because I went back to my mom afterwards and said, that was a very hurtful comment to Jolene, and my mom just did not understand why. She's like, it was a joke. It's like, that's not a funny joke, and you got to understand, because you feel a certain way doesn't mean the other person you're talking to like that either understands or feels that way as well. Yes, there is a lot to that, and you may start unwrapping all that right now, Matt. We have 20 minutes left. You better let us know how that all works.
Well, and even like, I mean, using that sarcasm, there's probably a layer of truth behind, like you alluded to, that your mom is like, perceiving things in a certain way, and everyone's going to take things in their own way as well. So that goes back to that belief. I mean, I think the more work you do, you recognize, well, that's just them. It doesn't like sting as much. But if you haven't addressed those things within yourself, well, yeah, it's going to burn. It's going to feel pretty raw and uncomfortable, because it's kind of attacking the core of your being. So.
And that alone probably had ended up like really affecting what Jolene, like had done, going forward. I'm not saying singularly, but all this has an effect, especially if you have low self-esteem to begin with. It's really, really tough. We're gonna hit a break here in a couple minutes, but I wanted to also bring up, because you brought up a lot of reasons why what might stop people from like the weight loss standpoint. But the one I think for me that I've always worried about, especially when I was, watching what I'm eating, I don't like to use the word diet because I don't think that that's a healthy word. I was always afraid that I wouldn't be able, I was like always worried about whether I'm going to have another meal. Like there was something that just was and it still is in my mind. It's like, I'm worried about, like, if I'm not eating now, am I not going to eat again? Very strange, but it's something that had, I one day I just realized that's one of the things that really kind of threw me for a loop, I guess.
Yeah. I've even had that carry over from other lifetimes. If you starved to death in another lifetime, you're like, crap, I ain't doing that again. I'm gonna get as much as I can, So like, you're not even thinking about that, but that's what's unconsciously playing out, and creating a reality.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. Maybe there is some kind of I came from a poverty background where food wasn't plentiful, or I was some sort of inmate, or who knows what. But yeah, I mean, there is something to that. But yeah, that's something that always, and like I said, even when I was watching what I was eating and to success is still like, oh my gosh, I worry about if I'm going to be able to eat again. It's just, and I think too, which I don't know how much you play into this. When I start watching what I eat, my mind starts really feeding me a lot of negative sort of propaganda that makes things a lot harder. Like, it's like just basically you're eating is like, you're not going to eat again for another so many hours, or just, just like my mind is saying stuff that I feel like I wouldn't think about, but it's there and it just plays into everything as well. It's like a big mind game.
I get that. And then you're starting to see why it's so hard for people to make some of these changes now. Back out and be like, well, you just change your lifestyle and that'll do it. No, why do people like lose weight? They rubber band right back and they gain it all back. It's because you didn't address the driving factors behind this.
No. And I think that's a really good point too about the, one of the worst things ever I think anyone could say to any of us for any reasons is like, well, why don't you just do it? Like, trust me, if I could just do it, I would have done it. There's a reason for it. And motivation is one of them at the moment, unfortunately. Matt, why don't we go ahead and do this? I'd like to take another break. When we come back, let's continue this conversation. If you want to take it somewhere else, folks, if there's a question you have, put it in the comments, or you can call in 952-946-6205. We have the wonderful quantum healer, Matt Schmidt, and we're talking about all sorts of great things about healing tonight. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to GhostBox Radio on AM 950. It's that time of year where the weather is getting nice and it's time to get out of the house for some family fun. Lily Putt is open for the season, and you know what that means. Lily Putt is known for its mini golf, go-karts, glow golf, jump pads, kiddie carts, gem mining, and even a new arcade. Lily Putt also has interactive and engaging escape rooms like the Haunted Mansion, the Bunker, or Night of the Wolf. Lily Putt is perfect for parties and group events. Stop by lilyputt.net for more information and hours of operation. Greg Bakun here. It's nice to get out of the Twin Cities and take some travel excursion to some great locations. Minnesota has so much to offer, which is why I love traveling down to Wabasha and staying at the historic Anderson House Hotel. Opened in 1856, this beautiful hotel offers comfortable accommodations, has a delicious restaurant, and even a speakeasy in the basement to unwind with a drink. Located next to the Mississippi River and on Main Street, there is a lot of sightseeing and shopping to do too. To get more information, go to theandersonhousehotel.com. Moonstone Minneapolis is a queer-owned, community-focused gift shop in South Minneapolis centered on curiosity, connection, and self-discovery. Explore astrology, tarot, crystals, herbs, mindfulness, and spiritual practices in a welcoming environment for all backgrounds and experience levels. Located at 3304 East Lake Street in Minneapolis, Moonstone Minneapolis also hosts makers markets, classes, and community events. Learn more at moonstoneMPLS.com and discover a welcoming place to explore with curiosity and respect. Greg Bakun here. I've told you about the out-of-the-world roast beef sandwiches at Maverick's Real Roast Beef, but I haven't told you about their Philly steak sandwiches, turkey bacon avocado sandwich, BLT, crispy chicken, fish sandwiches, brisket, or pulled pork. Okay, you get the idea. They make a lot of delicious food to the same standard as their famous roast beef sandwiches, and now I'm starving. I'm going to go to Maverick's Real Roast Beef off Lexington and Roseville, and you need to go too. Check out their menu at mavericksbeef.com. Greg Bakun here. I've been talking for a while about how spooky, fun, and fascinating the Minneapolis trolley tours are, but now there's big news. The Kind of Like Ghost Tours now begin at the historic Pillsbury Club, a beautifully restored haunted mansion once owned by Charles Pillsbury himself. Believe it or not, the interior is nearly 200 years older than the exterior. How is that possible? You'll have to come out and find out. Before or after your tour, stop by the on-site market featuring a curated collection of handmade goods, artisan crafts, and locally inspired treasures. Perfect for picking up a keepsake to remember your haunting adventure. You'll also find exclusive spooky merchandise from Tales of the Crypt and Elvira. Then climb aboard the climate-controlled trolley as we travel through Minneapolis's haunted hotspots, uncovering ghost stories that locals would rather keep buried. The mansion is restored to perfection, and there is no better way to spend an evening. Visit MinneapolisTrolleyTours.com for tickets and more information. And join me tomorrow on GhostBox Radio with Greg Bakun. We are going to see the return of author Lynn Monet, as we're going to be talking about her most recent book in the series of Omnipresent. We're going to be talking about Becca Dawn Drive. We were going to have her on at the beginning of July, but things got a little crazy just for everybody, and we finally have a chance to get her on. Really looking forward to talking about this. I do remember, Adam, if I'm not too mistaken, that whenever we would have Miss Monet on, that would result in you sleeping with the lights on. Because
I literally just said to myself, thank God that's on a Thursday and not a Wednesday. Her books scare the bejesus out of me. I am not kidding. They're terrifying, but they're brilliant.
Now here's the question. I mean, and they're all true stories.
That's what makes them scarier.
So when we last had on Lynn Monet, and you were working the board and doing the show, it was early on for you working with Paranormal Anything. Now years have passed. Do you still think that it would scare you as much?
There's a section in her first book where it talks about the woman being in the grocery store and the silver secretion coming out of her eyes while in the grocery store. That still scares the living daylights out of me. But to me, that goes back to, I want nothing to happen with my eyes. Number one, my eyes are terrible. And number two, a lot of it goes back to when I was, I think 13, and watching the movie Fire in the Sky in theater, and that whole scene with the needle going into Travis's eye. Anything that has to do with the eyes just scares me.
Well, and I've read Becca Dawn Drive, and you might be scared again. So yeah, no, it's gonna be good. Looking forward to that. Our guest tonight is the one and only Matt Schmidt, and we'd like to once again direct you over to YouTube to check out his videos. YouTube.com, Matt Schmidt, QH, lots of videos there that could really help. At the least, I mean, that's the first thing I always heard from everybody when they went to your site, Matt, was that these videos really help. And would you recommend people reaching out to you, or maybe looking to see if any of the videos might help first? What comes first, the chicken or the egg here?
You can reach out to me. Otherwise, I can point you in the right direction depending on what you're looking for. But there are some videos out there about like how to change your story, how to change these beliefs, and different ways to do that. So it's actually like practical, down to earth stuff that walk you through it. And yeah, everyone has access to these. So.
Yeah, that definitely check it out. Now, we were talking about, and I keep saying it, and I think I keep saying it wrongly in a sense, because I always say, do our beliefs prohibit it or stop us from healing? That's not necessarily what you're trying to get at. How do our beliefs impact our healing is probably a better way that I should bring it up. But that being said, I wanted to ask you, because you get a lot of people who need your help, need your healing. But I can imagine that maybe to some people, you are, in a sense, a last resort, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they may have not thought of you, but they are at their wits' end. But they're in a place where their own beliefs, like literally their beliefs, whether it's religious or whatever else, kind of contradicts what you're offering. Have you run into that?
Kind of, but I think all they need is like an open window. I think when you get to that point where you're like, I'll try anything, you kind of set that aside. Everyone's human. Everyone's looking for something in their life to be better, and I can work with any of that. So, but we can also address those things that would have been that, I guess, initial resistance to doing this. If they show up, no problem.
Well, I suppose, I just feel like that there's, and maybe I'm trying to create something where there isn't anything, that there is there's some people like they get this far It's their last resort. But as you're going through what you do and stuff, they're like the mechanism kicks in on them of like, oh my gosh, that's I've never heard that. I've only, that just seems impossible. That's
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people, when we first had you on, probably felt that way about your
Sure.
description of quantum healing in general as well.
I think so, and I've noticed this on repeat work with people. I'm like, okay, all this happened. Why didn't this shift? And they're like, what would come through is like, well, they don't believe this can happen, or they can believe this can happen, but to everyone else, but not them. So all those things right there are going to hold you back. If you have a fear of change, guess what? Getting better is change. That's going to keep you stuck. So all these things are like kind of stacked against you, and yeah, that's
Yeah,
really going to inhibit the healing there.
it really is. And so, I mean, and it's so easy to say, just show up with an open mind. What would you recommend for people to do that even before they get to you, is like, just to be as present as possible when they are talking to you, or really any situation for that matter?
Well, I think just them being invested in the process, because we can address those things that would have been holding them back, but it's just the initial doing it, putting in the work, showing up for yourself. I don't know. That's where it's at, really. Even if you have no idea, just like, well, let's see what happens. That's probably the best way to go into it.
Right, right.
You have nothing to lose except the crap that's been holding you back anyway, so you can look at it that way.
If I said, okay, I'm going to go on, I say open-minded, no expectations, is that the wrong thing? Because you should have expectations, right?
Oh, that's I think with the expectations, it kind of restricts it. Oh, it's got to go like this, or we have to go here to solve this. Maybe you don't. So it's just saying, well, let's see what's going to happen, and then you can analyze the crap out of it when we're done. But for the time being, you just go in and see what comes up.
See what comes up.
Yeah.
Just so you know, Danielle in the comments says Matt's YouTube is a treasure trove of great information. So there you go.
Thank you, Danielle. It's also like practical too. I'm not going to put out anything there that I wouldn't do myself. Like, it's all stuff that I tried. It's all stuff that has helped me along the way. So, and I'm just sharing that with other people and walking you through the steps of it, because most people don't know how to do this. I didn't. I had no clue.
When you put out a new video and has a new topic to it, what is it that tells you I need to do a video on whatever it is? I'm taking a look here real fast. It looks like as far as I can see, the last video you did, maybe there's one more recent, it's 2 months ago. This is why healing isn't fixing your problem. Where does that come from? Like, how do you know when it's time to do another video and what to do the video on?
I have all these ideas floating around. I have hundreds of Post-it notes, and then they all come together and like, okay, this is what's needed now. Or I'll get a lot of the same question over and over, people stuck in the same places. And I'm like, I take it for granted because I hear it all the time, but I'm like, okay, this needs to be out there because this is more than just just a couple isolated incidences. This is a trend, and this is going to help other people if they can avoid these pitfalls as they're going through this process.
Do you when I'm thinking about too, like I'm thinking about like psychic gifts, and I'm thinking about people who, I think there's people who have a kind of a block in their mind to be able to accept or not even accept, but allow the gifts to come through. A lot of people will take psychic classes, there's a lot of good ones. We've highlighted them on the show before. Do you do anything like that to help people break through that, or do you leave it to other people for that?
I do. Actually, the next event I have coming up is called Expand Your Spiritual Self, because I find most people are lacking basically the trust in themselves and the confidence in themselves. I think everyone has these abilities, but you have to use them. Like, if you're like, oh, I really want to be ripped, I want to get in a lot of muscle, I'm going to go to the gym one time and then be upset that it didn't work. Well, that's not how this stuff works. So how do you do that? Well, the workshop actually takes you through different ways that you can reinforce that using like divination or like pendulums or like your dream work or all different things like that to reinforce and kind of boost that confidence in yourself and to help you find your way so you can trust that.
When is this happening?
This is September 20th in just north of Green Bay at Golden Light Healing.
So for people that want to see that and take part in that, we'd send them to your website.
Yeah, all my events are on my website.
So once again, folks, you want to go over to Matt Schmidt, QH.com. We have just under a minute and a half left, and I want to say something real fast. And this is probably almost a whole show on itself. I'm a big fan of self-deprecation. I always have been, but self-deprecation, we should not be doing that, right? If we're trying to get to a goal, right? I shouldn't be making jokes about like my weight if I need to get to if I need to have a goal with my weight.
I think that's where a lot of like autoimmune issues come from. You're telling your body, "Oh, this is garbage. This is crap," and you're beating yourself down, and your body's like, "All right, this is garbage. Let's get rid of it." So your body starts attacking itself, really. And I see that time and time again with those beliefs creating that illness again.
So we just gotta kind of cut that out, and just when you just need to be pro. Like I need to be pro Greg. I need to be that makes.
And Paula said it great. Curiosity is key. So it's like, oh, it's interesting. I'm feeling like crap. Why is that? You can't get too attached to it when you're just curious. Like, oh, this is interesting. I'm really pissed. Well, why is that? It doesn't have the same like weight, I guess, to it.
Absolutely. Once again, folks, we'd like to direct you to go over to Matt Schmidt QH, as well as looking at his YouTube channel, Matt Schmidt QH there as well. Matt, this has been really cool. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you again, Greg. We could have done like 8 more shows. I have like so much, but gives people a taste.
We might do that. We'll be back with Lynn Monet tomorrow. Good night, everyone.
The Tom Hartman Show. Now that's